Hi, Joanna. This is Ellen again. I'm so sorry about what happened with your essay. What a disappointment. It was a rather long and detailed correction, but let's do it again. So let's just get right into it. So the ex-convict is the topic. Let's see what you wrote. It is widely known and supported by many international studies that talking with young people about the dangers surrounding them while they grow up brings hope that some of them will avoid trouble or serious sentence. In this essay, I'm going to present my opinion regarding regarding an influence of previous prisoners to teenagers, whether they should discuss the danger of crime with teenagers or not. All right, so um, now, what you did here is you kind of split up your introduction into 2 paragraphs, and that's not such a great idea. This should have all been one block of text. Okay, maybe it was just, like you hit enter by accident, but all of that should have been in one paragraph. You see, we the elements that you included in this paragraph or in these 2 paragraphs are elements that we want in an introduction, but provided that that's one paragraph only. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then I want to talk a little bit about some of the grammar, some of the vocabulary, as well as something else. You didn't quite, in your attempt to rephrase the topic, you didn't quite address the question. So I want to look at it again, this time correcting some of the language, correcting some of the elements here, okay? So let's look at your introduction for a couple of minutes. It is widely known and supported by many international studies that ex-criminals talking with young people about yeah, you see this whole thing, it's very general. You didn't talk about ex-criminals at all, and you didn't talk about talking to them about being involved in crime at all. So all of this was really very vague. It was very general. So who talking to the young people and what danger? All right. So all of this is too general, and it doesn't really address what this essay is actually about. So I want to rewrite it if I can, okay? So it is widely known and supported by many international studies that having ex-convicts talk with young people about the dangers of crime could potentially help some of them avoid trouble or jail in the future. Okay, that's how I would rephrase this to be absolutely on topic and also grammatically correct. In this, no, not in this essay, I'm going to present my opinion. You should present your opinion without telling us you're going to present it because it asks you very specifically to what extent do you agree or disagree. So rather than telling us that you're going to tell us your opinion, just tell us your opinion. It's important in the introductory paragraph, especially as far as task achievement is concerned. It's really important that your position is clear from your introduction. So let's say instead, I'm trying to remember what you were. Okay. So, this essay supports that ex-criminals are, in fact, the best people to talk to teenagers about crime. And I will support my view with evidence and proof. Okay, something like that. All right, so something like that would have been okay. So you could see I did a little bit of rewriting here. Let's move on then. I absolutely agree that prisoners who experienced violence and spent a few, that should be one word, years behind bars would be the most effective educators. It should be processed internationally and be available for each grown-up to face previous gangster and take a good advice how not to be engaged into breaking a law. Person who spent some time locked, regretting its behavior, and suffering from loneliness would become an expert in teaching others how to prevent similar acts of and I don't know why that happened. So there were a handful of things that I also mentioned in the previous correction that need to be corrected here. First of all, grammar needs to be corrected. So that's one thing I would like to do for sure in this paragraph. The other thing that I want to talk to you a little bit about is the progression of your ideas. And this is something that is scored under coherence and cohesion. So how you arrange your ideas. So before we actually correct some of that grammar, why don't we start with that? So you're telling us in the first sentence that yes, ex-prisoners are the most effective educators. Now, what you're supposed to do here is you're supposed to tell us why. You're supposed to support that idea, okay? And give us some information about, why you think this or how they are the most effective educators. That's how you support this idea. Instead, what you did is you said that you made a suggestion that this should be available internationally, about how not to become involved in breaking a law. And then your next sentence said that the people who are ex-convicts are an expert in teaching people how to prevent the being involved in crime. I assume that's what you meant. But you never actually really supported this whole position. You said that they spent time locked up, that they regret their behavior, but how are they the best people? Why are they the best people? Why are they better than somebody else? What is it that they do that is so convincing, or what is it that they say that is so convincing to people so that they don't get involved in crime? All right, so it's really missing support, okay? Um, and then, like I said before, I didn't really think that this sentence helped you in any real particular way. I mean, that's why I was saying that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your progression of ideas. Um, it didn't, that's not the sentence you needed there. The sentences that you needed in this particular space was essentially telling us why you think that these people are the most appropriate. So maybe you could have put this sentence here, and then you should have continued on expressing why you think they are such excellent educators to prevent young people from getting involved in crime. Okay, so that's a little bit about coherence and cohesion. It's also touching upon task achievement because it needed more development. Okay, like I said, you had this one sentence here, which I think didn't really help your development at all. You had two sentences that were a good start, but you never actually went anywhere with them. And you had this here, which I really didn't understand. Okay, you could have just said how to prevent similar acts, full stop, and then you would have been okay. But still, you needed to go into more detail, expressing the idea further. Why they're the best people, how you can prove this, or any other sort of explanation or illustration of this idea. Okay? All right, so going on to your next paragraph now. I totally agree. What many, you know what? Before I actually go into your next paragraph, I told you that I was going to talk about the grammar, and I forgot to do that. So let's do that now. I absolutely agree that prisoners who experienced violence and spent a few years behind bars would be the most effective educators. Such a measure should be processed internationally and be available for each teenager, um, allowing them to meet former prisoners and get good advice from them uh, as to how not to break the law. Okay. People who have spent some time locked up regret their behavior and suffer from and their suffering from loneliness would make them an expert in teaching others how to prevent similar fates. That's a good expression to use. Like fate, yeah, fate. So FATE would be really good here. How to prevent a similar fate. That would have been great. Okay? But still, I think that you needed to get into some detail as to what makes them better than anybody else to do this kind of job. Let's move on now. I totally disagree with what many citizens suggest, specifically, comma, that everyone who has left jail and has become a better person would not be a beneficial educator. Or we don't say a beneficial educator, we say an effective educator. That would have been a great word here. Now, this is a little complicated because you've got some negatives in here. You've got a couple of double negatives, and it makes it hard to read. So let's see if we can come up with something else. I understand where you're going with this sentence, but let's see how we can fix it. So I completely disagree with the suggestion of many citizens that people who have left jail and become better people are not effective educators. So I wasn't able to keep your meaning and get rid of those two negatives. As you could see that I still continued with them. But rather than spending too much time focusing on that, why don't we actually look at what you said further down in the paragraph to see if maybe we can come up with a different sentence in the beginning of that paragraph. So let's see. Some parents are afraid that their children would like to copy criminals in some situations without considering peaceful, 1L, and that's not a right word here, and non-aggressive, maybe, action. If our system of education activated present teachers to support past prisoners, control their access to school, and prepare them to become qualified educators, we'll prove that an idea of preventing crimes among young people by meeting affected ones is wise. All right, so you attempted a really complex sentence here. It's a long sentence. It's grammatically very sophisticated. Unfortunately, it did have some problems, so it wasn't accurate. Although it was a good attempt. I am a little concerned that this paragraph only has 3 sentences. So again, it's an issue of development. Okay. And again, I'm not really convinced that this was the best way to develop this paragraph. Okay. So why don't we try this a little differently? Trying to see if this is actually what they're asking you to talk about. Let me think about this for a second. There are some people who suggest that ex-convicts who have become better people are not effective educators, yet I totally disagree. Okay? So I like that sentence a little more. Let's see. So some parents are afraid that their children might copy criminals in some situations without considering peaceful and non-aggressive actions. Okay, and then again, since you started off like this with your opinion, you could have continued it. You could say how, however, this is not valid. With the right controls, such a situation could be avoided. And then you could say, for example, if our education system assisted teachers to support past prisoners, controlling their access to schools and preparing them to become qualified educators, this would prove that the idea of using ex-convicts to prevent crime is a wise idea. Okay, or is a wise one. I think that works better. Okay, so that's one thing you could have done here. So it's a little bit about shifting around some of the words, shifting around some of the language, making it grammatically more correct, more accurate, more a little higher level. Okay, and I think it's an improvement. So let's take a look at your conclusion. Overall, I would like this process of this unusual education 1L to be widely accepted and performed. All right, you don't perform education, so careful with that word. And would like to see studies confirming my point of view. Okay. So again, there are a couple of things I would change here, some of the words, and I don't know about this studies confirming my point of view. Maybe we could have said something like overall, or in conclusion, um, I believe that anti-crime education conducted by ex-criminals is the most effective way to prevent crime among teens. And in the future, I believe studies will support this viewpoint. Okay, so that would have been a nice way to end it. All right, so Joanna, it's a lot of information in one essay correction. I would love to see what you're doing in task 1. Okay, for me, I saw a handful of things in this essay. I saw that there are some grammatical issues. Now, we can help you with some of them, but some of them you're going to need to do some self-study, or, study with a local school or something to improve your grammar. Of course, you didn't tell us what score you need, so I don't have all the information to kind of guide you. Um, but I do think that kind of improving your overall language level would help you get a better score on IELTS. Okay, so that's one thing. Um, I am 100% positive that if we work together, we can absolutely help you with the structure of your essays, with some grammar, of course, and of course some vocabulary. Help you really learn how to develop your essays appropriately, how to have cohesive essays that answer the question appropriately. So I'd love to help you. I don't remember if you told us your exam is coming up. I can't quite remember that at the moment. But if you've got a little bit of time before your exam, then let us help you reach your goals. And I look forward to working with you. So lots of luck.